Hi guys, welcome back to this series of user experience videos. In today's video, we will go through some of the basic components of user experience. Some people actually define much more than the ones that we have on the screen. They add components like accessibility, credibility, but the ones that we have there are just the basic components that if you ensure that you cover all those, I think there are 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. If you cover all those 8 components of user experience while in the process of designing your system, well, it's much more they're bound to ensure that the entire system will ensure a positive user experience when your users use your system. So the ones that will cover functionality, usability, typography, user interface, content strategy, interaction design, information architecture, and visual design. So in the next series of slides, we'll just go over each one of those individually. So the first component that we'll go over is functionality, and this is basically just your users need to be able to find what they are looking for, and they need to find it very quickly. If they can't find what they want, already your system lacks functionality and your users are not going to continue to use it. They are going to move on to the next available app if they have an alternative choice, and they'll use that other one and they won't use your system at all. And one thing to remember when it comes to functionality is you can have the best looking app in the world, but if it lacks functionality, your users won't use it. So attractive visuals do not fix functionality at all. So one thing to remember is users need to be able to find what they are looking for in your app, and they need to find it very quickly, and you need to ensure that you provide users with what they know that this is what they're going to look for, and they will find it. If they don't find it, your system already lacks functionality. The next component is usability. We've already covered usability measures in the first series of these videos. I'll just link down that video down in the description box below. But basically, usability is how easy it is to use your app. Remember that if you engage with your users throughout the design process, your users will be able to know what they want. They'll tell you that they need it to be like this, to be like this, to be like this, so they're able to use your app. How quickly can they become proficient again when using your app? Can they remember to use your app after they've used it? Let's say they use it today. Tomorrow when they come back onto your app, will they remember how to use it? That's usability. Typography is concerned with the formation of letters and words, the kind of fonts that you use on your app. You need to be able to choose a font that aligns with your users. You need to consider your audience. So for example, you can't use cursive writing for a system that's being developed for kids because they won't be able to read that writing. And also research has shown that sans serif fonts, like fonts that don't have tails like the ones that we've used here on the screen, are much better to read on the screen, while the ones that have little tails like serif fonts like Times New Roman are much better to read on printed newspaper. So you need to be able to choose a font style that your users will be able to read and understand your content. The next component that we'll look at is content strategy, and this is basically just, it can fall under usability as well, but it's basically just the clarity of your content. How clear is your content? What are you offering to your users? Is there a logical message? Do users know what exactly they're supposed to find when they land onto your website? What exactly can users do on your website? If your users land onto your website and they have to ask themselves, what exactly am I supposed to do here? Already your system is lagging and you have to go back and fix that part of your system. You need to make sure that you're sending a logical message to your users and your users know exactly what's being offered to them. Information architecture is basically just the grouping, the structuring and organization of your content or your information. The best way to think about information architecture or to understand it properly is think about going to a restaurant, right? So when you go to a restaurant and the waiter gives you their menu, they never sort of put their menu items in alphabetical order, so they won't put their burgers and then chicken wings, chicken hearts, ribs in alphabetical order. They'll actually group everything together that they know that this is what the users will first look for. So they'll group the drinks on one side together. They'll put coffee, they'll put tea, like sort of like hot beverages together. They'll put cold beverages together, and all those will be under drinks. And then they'll put starters together on the other side. They'll put the main meal or the main course on the other side, the kiddies meal on the other side as well. So they group everything in a way that they know that this will enable the users to find information quickly and easily. Yeah, so that's basically information architecture, the way you group things on your website. Like, imagine going onto your clothing website. You know that they will group men's clothing on the other side, women's clothing on the other side, kiddies clothing on the other side. And as soon as you land onto the women's clothing, they'll have other categories in there as well, like dresses, accessories, shoes. That's basically how they group everything, because they know this will enable our users to find things quickly, to find information quickly. The user interface is basically how you present, or the presentation of the layout and the navigation of your app or your website, the look and feel. It's basically just you know how the interface is what sits between your app and the user, like the screen. So basically how you present everything will that enable users to find information quickly. So user interface actually is driven by your information architecture, the one that we've just explained just now in the previous slide. The next component is the interaction design, which is basically just how your users will be able to manipulate the system to get it to do what they want it to do. It's concerned with how they tap your system, how they click on that button that you've used, how they swipe and everything. So maybe just an example, think the way you reboot your computer, Control Alt Delete. You can't actually do that with just like one finger or with just one click of a button, because they made it a little bit challenging so that you don't reboot your computer by mistake, or like when you're busy doing something unintentionally. So that's just how interaction design is, the way you do things, how are users going to be able to manipulate the system to get it to do what they want it to do. The final component is the visual design, and this is basically the look and feel of your app, the overall look and feel. How does it look? The use of images, colors, icons, typography, and it enhances usability. What kind of icons are you using on your screen? Are you using icons that users will be able to know what they mean when they look at them, or do they have to read the explanation underneath them to understand what the icon or your picture or the images that you've used actually mean? Visual design actually affects the overall user experience, because if the visual is ugly or it's just not impressive at all, your users won't be able to, well, they will be able to use your system, but they won't use your system, because one thing about users is they tend to judge the visuals a lot. So if they look at your app and they feel like it's like way too ugly, they're just going to assume that it's not going to get them to do what they want it to do, so they just won't use your system at all. And that brings us to the end of this video on the components of user experience. We'll dive deeper into some of these components later on in some of these videos, but I hope this was really helpful, and please don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.